This happened when I was 11 years old, and even now, years later, I still check every sliding glass door before I go to bed. My parents had divorced when I was 6. After that, my mom and I moved into a gated country club community. It was one of those expensive neighborhoods built around a massive golf course, perfectly maintained lawns, palm trees, luxury homes. The entire property was so large that security guards patrolled it constantly in golf carts, especially at night. Most of the residents were elderly, so seeing security drive around every evening was completely normal. My grandfather also owned a house inside the community, only a short walk from ours. As an 11-year-old with very few friends, I spent most of my days between those two houses. I knew almost everyone who worked there, including one of the night security guards. He was older, friendly, always smiling. Sometimes, when he drove past, he'd offer me a ride around the neighborhood in his golf cart. To a kid, it felt exciting, flying through empty streets at night, listening to him tell stories, feeling like you had some special privilege. Neither my mom nor I thought much of it. Looking back now, I wish we had. One night, I couldn't sleep. Insomnia had always been a problem for me, so instead of lying awake in my room, I climbed into my mom's bed and quietly watched television while she slept. Our little dog Bogart was curled up beside us. The house had a split bedroom layout, and large sliding glass doors opened directly onto the golf course behind the house. Everything was quiet, until I heard it, a sound, almost like rubber peeling apart. The unmistakable sound of a sliding door seal breaking. It came from the living room. I looked over at Bogart. He didn't bark, didn't growl, didn't even lift his head. That made me hesitate. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe the wind shifted the door somehow. I slowly climbed out of bed and walked toward the hallway. As I leaned around the corner, I saw it. The sliding glass door was opening, very slowly, and through the gap, a hand reached inside. I remember freezing completely. The only thing I managed to say was, "Mom, Mom," not screaming, just barely getting the words out. The second my mother woke up, the hand disappeared. The door slid shut again. Whoever had been outside ran. My mom immediately got out of bed. She saw the sliding door wasn't fully closed anymore. Someone had definitely opened it. Without wasting time, she called neighborhood security. And a few minutes later, the responding guard arrived. The same guard who had spent months acting friendly around us. He walked into our house carrying a clipboard, acting professional, asking questions, taking notes. My mom trusted him completely. She believed he was there to help. But while he sat in our living room writing his report, I noticed something. A ring on his right pinky finger, a thick silver ring with a distinctive shape. The second I saw it, my stomach dropped, because I had already seen that ring, only minutes earlier, on the hand reaching through our sliding door. I didn't say anything while he was there, but after he left, my mom came into my room and tried reassuring me. She told me there would be extra patrols around our house, that security would keep an eye on us, that everything was okay. Then I asked her something. Why does the security guard have the same ring as the man who opened the door? I've never seen my mother's face change so quickly. She immediately realized what I meant, and without saying another word, she picked up the phone. This time, she didn't call security. She called the police, real police. After investigating, they contacted the owner of the private security company. And what they discovered was even worse than we imagined. The guard had apparently been watching our house for weeks, watching my mother, watching me, learning our routines, knowing when we were alone. The person hired to protect the neighborhood had been using his position to stalk the people living there. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't been awake that night, if I'd been asleep, if my mom hadn't heard me, if whoever opened that door had made it inside. I don't even want to think about it. What I do know is that one tiny detail saved us. A silver ring. One glance at a stranger's hand, and suddenly the person taking the report became the prime suspect. Even now, whenever I hear the faint sound of a sliding door moving at night, I'm 11 years old again, watching a hand slowly reach into my home. This happened when I was 21 years old. At the time, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my mom and my younger sister. The apartment complex wasn't considered dangerous, but it definitely wasn't the nicest place in town either. Management knew the area had problems, so they hired armed security guards to patrol the property throughout the day and night. Honestly, seeing them around usually made me feel safer. Our building didn't have its own laundry room, so every time I needed to wash clothes, I had to carry heavy baskets down 5 flights of stairs. walk across the parking lot, enter another building, and use the basement laundry area, late at night. It wasn't exactly my favorite thing to do, but knowing security was nearby made it easier. Then one day, I noticed a new guard. He immediately stood out. He was huge, at least 6'3". Broad shoulders, completely shaved head, built like someone who spent every day in the gym. Unlike the other guards, he never smiled, never waved, never spoke to residents. He simply watched people, and there was something about him that made everyone uncomfortable. At first, I assumed he was just taking his job seriously. Then my friend called me one night. She lived in another building inside the same complex. Around 10 p.m. she went downstairs to do laundry. When she got there, she saw the new security guard standing outside the laundry building. At first, she ignored him. Then he followed her inside. The guards weren't supposed to do that. Unless there was an emergency, they only patrolled outside. According to my friend, he walked into the laundry room without saying a word, then just stood there, watching her. She got immediately, started yelling at him, threatened to report him to management if he didn't leave. She said he never responded, never defended himself. He just stared at her, turned around, and quietly walked out. After hearing that story, I became much more cautious. A few weeks passed, nothing happened. Then one night after work, everything changed. I got home around 9:30 p.m. As I pulled into the parking lot, I immediately noticed something strange. The power was out. Not just in my building. The entire complex was completely dark. No streetlights, no hallway lights, no apartment windows, just darkness. I backed my car into a parking space so I could keep my building in sight while gathering my things. I had shopping bags, food, my purse, a water bottle. Way too much to carry comfortably. And honestly, I didn't want to walk through a pitch-black parking lot. There were often homeless people wandering nearby, looking through dumpsters. One man in particular was unpredictable enough that everyone avoided him. So I called my mom, hoping she'd come downstairs. No answer. I considered calling my sister, then laughed to myself. She never answered her phone. I sat there for another minute, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. Eventually, I decided to stop overthinking it. I reached over to grab my bags, and suddenly, the power came back. The parking lot lights flickered on. Apartment windows lit up. Everything returned to normal. I remember feeling immediate relief until I looked toward my building and saw him, the new security guard, standing on the top floor landing. My floor, completely motionless, facing directly toward our apartment door. There were 4 apartments on that landing, but he wasn't walking past them, wasn't checking windows, wasn't patrolling. He was standing directly in front of our door. His head leaned slightly forward, like he was listening, trying to hear what was happening inside. I watched him for several seconds. He never moved. Then very slowly, he turned around and started walking downstairs. Not rushing, not startled, just calmly leaving. My heart immediately started racing. I grabbed my phone and called my mom again. This time she answered. I told her exactly what I'd seen. Within minutes, she came downstairs and met me outside. The second we got upstairs, she called building management. After that night, I never saw him again. No announcements, no explanation, no goodbye. He simply disappeared. Later, we heard rumors that other residents had reported strange encounters with him too. People catching him standing outside apartments for no reason, lingering near laundry rooms, watching windows. Whether he quit or was fired, I never found out. But honestly, I didn't care. I was just relieved he was gone. The thing that still bothers me is that security guards are supposed to make you feel safe. They're trusted with access to your neighborhood, your routines, your home, and most of them deserve that trust. But every now and then, someone with bad intentions realizes that wearing a uniform gives them something even more valuable than authority. It gives them access, and ever since that night, I've never assumed that someone is harmless just because they're wearing a badge. At the time this happened, I was working in the meat department of a large supermarket chain. I was also a full-time student, and like most people working retail, I was just trying to get through my shift and go home. This happened on a Friday night, around 9:30 p.m. It was unusually warm for February, one of those rare nights where sitting outside actually felt nice. Behind our store, there was a small employee break area, a couple picnic tables underneath a metal carport, Most customers didn't even know it existed. It sat on the west side of the building, hidden behind service entrances and loading areas. You wouldn't accidentally find it unless you worked there. That detail becomes important later. The area around our store wasn't exactly safe. In fact, crime had gotten so bad over the years that management hired armed security guards, not mall cops. Actual armed guards. At all times, one guard stayed inside. The other stayed outside. The policy existed because employees had previously been robbed. Some even had their cars stolen from the parking lot. That night, I was sitting outside on my final 15-minute break. With me were my coworker Orlando and one of the security guards, Alan. Everything was normal until a man appeared. None of us had seen him walk up. One moment we were talking. The next, he was standing there. The first thing he said was directed at Alan. He claimed there was some kind of issue inside the store, and that Alan needed to go check it out immediately. Alan didn't move. Instead, he calmly asked who had called him. No manager had contacted him. No radio call, no phone call, nothing. The man couldn't answer, and immediately, the guy was wearing sunglasses. At night, not evening, not sunset. The sun had been down for hours, and despite talking to us, he wouldn't look directly at anyone. His head stayed lowered the entire time, like he was deliberately trying to avoid showing his face. The only things I really noticed were a curved scar on his chin and severe acne scars across his cheeks. Then he changed tactics. He asked if we had a cigarette. When nobody answered, he asked if we could spare 42 cents for the bus. 42 cents, not $1, not a few dollars, 42 cents exactly. The request felt weird immediately. Even stranger because bus fare in our city wasn't even close to 42 cents. Then he did something that really got my attention. He sat down directly across from me. Nobody invited him. He just sat there and started talking. According to him, he was about to become our newest coworker. He claimed someone named Stacy had just interviewed him and accepted his application. The problem? There was no Stacy. Nobody by that name worked in our store. Not in management, not in HR, not anywhere. And our hiring process was completely online. There weren't even paper applications. The second he finished talking, I called him out. I told him nobody named Stacy worked there, and there was no paper application process. For the first time, he seemed caught off guard. Then he quickly changed his story. Apparently Stacy had made a special exception. Apparently he didn't own a computer. Apparently she personally accepted his paperwork. Every answer sounded more ridiculous than the last. Then he claimed he was waiting for a second interview. At 9:30 at night. I immediately shut that down too. HR left around 5 p.m. every day. Nobody was conducting interviews at that hour. I remember saying, "You'll be waiting a while." And Alan immediately backed me up. At that point, the atmosphere changed. The man stopped talking as much, stopped smiling. And that's when I noticed something. Alan had quietly moved his hand toward his hip. Not aggressively, not threateningly, just enough to lift his jacket slightly, just enough for the guy to see the handgun on his belt. The reaction was immediate. The stranger's confidence vanished. Alan calmly told him it was time to leave. And after a few seconds of silence, the guy finally stood up. But Alan didn't take his eyes off him. He escorted him all the way across the property, across the street, and watched until he disappeared. I figured that was the end of it. I went back inside and finished my shift. Maybe 30 minutes later, Alan found me in the back room. His expression immediately told me something was wrong. He said the police were there and that they needed to speak with me. I explained everything. The sunglasses, the fake employee story, the weird bus fare request, the attempt to separate Alan from the group. Everything. The officer listened carefully, then exchanged a look with his partner. And that's when he told us something that made my stomach drop. The man matched the description of someone they'd been looking for. According to the officer, there had been multiple incidents involving workers getting robbed after late shifts. The suspect would approach people, start a conversation, gain trust, or create a distraction, then strike when they were isolated. And according to police, the description matched almost perfectly. The scar, the sunglasses, the behavior, everything. Looking back now, the thing that scares me most isn't what happened, it's what almost happened. Because if Alan had gone inside like the guy wanted, there would have only been 2 employees sitting outside alone. No armed guard, no witness, no deterrent, just us. And suddenly that weird conversation about job applications didn't seem so random anymore. To this day, I don't know for sure what his plan was. But I do know one thing. He wasn't there looking for a job. He was looking for an opportunity.